As of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. Alta Opentenko, a single mother in 1971 in Texas, fought to survive as a waitress while her dreams of stability and joy for her daughter Melissa slowly soured. The harsh realities of working for meager W-2s came crashing down on her, leaving her unable to provide even the most basic needs like diapers, let alone afford coveted spots in Fat Albert daycare. And as she struggled to make ends meet, Alta was forced to sacrifice more and more, disconnecting from the joys of bedtime stories with Melissa's father, Jeffrey, and enduring haunting silence every morning in their empty apartment. But it was all worth it just to see Melissa grow up with shoes on her feet and a full stomach. No matter how many Goodwill ponytails and hand-me-down clothes she had to disguise her upbringing with. It was a bittersweet trade-off, but one that Alta made with unwavering determination for the sake of her daughter's future. Every single day was the exact same routine, until hope shined through in the spring of 1971. A close friend from church connected with Alta with a job in retail, which was a godsend. With guaranteed weekday hours from 9 to 5. She could wave goodbye to the chaotic shifts at the diner where she was working double. And this meant more time to be a loving mother, with endless playtime and kisses for scraped knees and cherishing every moment before her daughter Melissa would grow up and begin spending more and more time with her peers at school. However, that Monday loomed large and had other intentions, once again crushing the newfound optimism of the young family. Going on business trips out of state was a sting familiar to salaried workers like Alta's friend from church, but strangely enough, retailers seemed to be exempt from this wanderlust policy. Nevertheless, a hastily written memo landed on her boss's desk announcing that she was needed for a 6-figure decision-making task that required a 9-hour drive within 24 hours. And despite her anxieties as a mother, company loyalty prevailed as her medical coverage depended solely on her boss's approval. So in a rush, she posted an ad in the newspaper for an emergency caregiver and managed to secure someone who radiated this trustworthy and experienced elder vibes, or at least enough to persuade her in the moment of desperation. Monday, August 23rd arrived way too quickly for Alta's liking. As she rushed to kiss her little toddler goodbye, she placed all her trust and support of nearby friends instead of leaving her child with the stranger named Ruth Johnson who had responded from that advertisement. But it seemed that Ruth would be needed for a small time in between when her neighbor was busy, but we'll get to that. You see, the options were slim. She could promise her 21-month-old that the separation would be brief and that they would soon return to their joyful routine, or she could risk losing her job, her steady income, and that's what kept her world spinning. These were the precarious paths that destitute single parents had to tread, trying to navigate around a system that failed to support families and inevitably led to accumulating moral debts. So Alta gave her little girl a kiss goodbye, and then she was off on the road. And after gripping the steering wheel, her eyes fixed on the highway ahead as she drove to work, she had left Melissa in the care of her downstairs roommate, Dolores, for the day. But as she kept driving, she just couldn't shake this feeling of unease. And even once at work, Alta kept worrying, even though, she trusted Dolores. But this panic and dread just started to set in as she worried that something may have happened to Melissa. And finally, during her lunch break, Alta called Dolores and demanded to know what was going on. And through sobs and frantic words, Dolores explained that a well-dressed stranger, Ruth, had shown up at their door that morning and offered to watch Melissa so Dolores could actually focus on her work. And without hesitation, Dolores had handed over Melissa and left for her job. But now, with no further word from the stranger or Melissa's father, who lived in Fort Worth, fear began to consume Alta. And she rushed home after work to find that the worst had came true. The stranger was a kidnapper, and they had taken Melissa. So through tears and this shaky confusion, Dolores recounted how the woman had seemed so kind and maternal, luring Melissa away without any suspicion. Alta then just collapsed onto the couch, heartbroken and terrified for her daughter's safety. This one loose thread in their delicate fabric of life threatened everything that they knew, their livelihoods, their family bond. And the silence of empty phone lines only intensified Alta's inner inkling that this was all her fault for leaving Melissa in someone else's care. For weeks, they scoured the streets in a frantic search for Melissa Highsmith, but their efforts were met with frustration and disappointment. And as 1971 came to a close, everybody there felt a sense of detachment, as this bright-eyed young family was now engulfed with tragedy, with no closure in sight. However, new evidence emerged that revealed Melissa may have not gone far at all. In fact, she had been living under a false identity just minutes away from where she was taken, literally blocks away. And how I know this, you're about to find out. Her captor, Sharon Silva, had assumed the role of her new mother and raised her as Melanie Ann, using lies about a Japanese heritage to keep Melissa under her control. It became clear that Silva had long harbored predatory intentions and constructed a twisted reality where Melissa was held captive for her own satisfaction. And meanwhile, Melissa's real mother, Alta, continued to grieve just a few neighborhoods away. The sorrow that envelops those who have lost their loved ones permanently imprints itself on their DNA, a painful reminder of stolen moments and missed milestones. And even returning to familiar places can definitely trigger memories, like when Melanie escaped from Silva's grasp and found herself back at home within 10 minutes of her birth. But even in shelters where cities share the same postmarks, the past lingers in thin veils. And for 79-year-old Jeffrey Highsmith now, his dementia was further exacerbated by the loss of his daughter Melissa, who had been taken away from him 51 years ago. His futile attempts at tracing his family through a consumer DNA test seemed like a desperate shot in the dark, until a 1 in a million chance matched his sample with confirmed direct grandchild lineage. The discovery of Melanie Ann's true identity was confirmed once they placed her baby photos next to the present-day self, and the likeliness was striking, like identical twin time travelers staring back at time. This revelation brought together the Highsmith family branches that had been severed for 50 years, reconciling an estranged grandmother with her long-lost granddaughter. Though questions still remain about the motives of the abductor, Silva, the truth has now finally emerged from behind the shadows and deception that have haunted this family for decades. And for some reason, Silva has not been charged with anything yet. It is very strange. Melissa Highsmith Apenteco now lives with newfound joy and resilience, a testament to the power of unconditional love and forgiveness. As 18th century poets would say, there is an invisible line between bitter and sweet, where sorrow can bring forth grace and everlasting soul food. Today, the family line that was once separated by years now leans in closer, recognizing the ties that bind them together. And Melissa has reunited with her mother Alta and her brother Jeffrey Jr. along with her own grown children. And together, they work tirelessly to bring justice to missing person cases, while also acknowledging their past struggles and moving forward towards a brighter future. No matter the distance between them, whether it be 2 miles or 2,000 miles or even 2 million, their family bonds remain strong like the roots of a tree, weathering any storms that come their way. Now, I don't like stories that involve children, especially when they're being hurt or anything like that. That's why I kept this one short and sweet. But luckily, even though she was hurt in one way, she was freed at the end in another way, and she ultimately got to see her family again. So a story like that with a great ending, I just had to tell you guys, even though it may not be the most thrilling, which by the way, on Friday I have an absolute blockbuster for you guys. So just keep that in mind and make sure that bell notification is on. I hope you found the clue. I hope you liked this. Let's get this up to 1,000 likes. However many we can get is good. All right, that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you next time. Cheers.